Hey Seahawks Nation! I need you locked in today, because what went down over the last few hours shook everybody in Seattle, and it wasn't some small thing you just brush off. It wasn't one of those regular bad days where things go wrong and the team simply fixes it because they're talented. This was the kind of afternoon where everything felt out of control, and every snap seemed to carry way more weight than the scoreboard showed. Picture dealing with a stretch of injuries that ripped apart 3 different units of the team on the same day. The quarterback, fresh off one of his worst performances of the year, needed to prove he could still be trusted. That wasn't just another game. It felt like a public trial where everything was on the table: confidence, toughness, emotional stability, and even the long-term direction of the season. And right in the middle of that chaos, one player stepped up and decided to rewrite franchise history with the kind of performance that makes the whole league stop and take notice. A game that isn't remembered just by the final score or the box score, but by the feeling that something big just happened. That's the size of the bomb Seattle dropped today. When you connect the dots, you'll understand why this win in Nashville was both a massive sigh of relief and a loud warning to the rest of the NFL. So stick with me until the end, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss a beat, because you're about to feel the energy of this game all over again. First thing to understand, this was a straight-up physical war, maybe the toughest game Seattle played all season. The 30-24 score doesn't even come close to telling the real story. It doesn't show the exhaustion, the patchwork lineups, or the silent panic happening down on the field. Seattle won, but it paid a brutal price for it. This was one of those games where every little battle came with a cost to the roster. I'll break down the injuries and how they wrecked the defensive plan, but before that, you need to understand what was happening while the defense was hanging on with duct tape. Sam Darnold had a massive weight on his shoulders. After that meltdown against the Rams, with 4 picks, confidence in the basement, and everybody coming after him, he didn't have a choice. He had to respond. Games like this either crush a quarterback for good or spark the emotional shift that changes everything around him. And he answered. Darnold went 16 for 26, threw for 244 yards, 2 touchdowns, and here's the real headline: he walked out of the game with 0 interceptions. That's exactly what the team needed from him. It wasn't about being spectacular. It was about not repeating last week's disaster. He attacked tight windows when it mattered, but didn't go full hero ball trying to force throws that had no business leaving his hand. He wasn't perfect. He had one that almost got picked in the second half, but for a team entering the week as the most turnover-prone group in the NFL, playing clean was a massive win. It was the bare minimum Seattle needed to breathe again, and he delivered it. Keep in mind, Darnold entered this game with 10 interceptions on the season. Right now, the mission is to freeze that number. Not add to it, not feed debates. Just stabilize. And even against a defensive front with Jeffrey Simmons and Arden Key, he stayed upright, took only 1 sack, and finally gave Seattle a game that didn't snowball into a mess. It wasn't redemption, but it was a reset the entire offense desperately needed. That mattered. And just when the offense was settling into a rhythm, the day took its darkest turn: the injury avalanche. It started with Ty Okada, already filling in for Julian Love, going down with an oblique injury and not returning. Imagine that situation: you're already improvising, already stretched thin, and then you lose the only direct backup left. Mike Macdonald joked after the game that he almost punched the air to celebrate, but would have hit Okada right where he got hurt. Funny in theory, but the truth is there was nothing funny about it on that sideline. It was panic. With Love out and Okada gone, Seattle had to throw D'Anthony Bell and rookie Nick Emenwari next to Kobe Bryant and just hope that the back end would hold up. Things got so serious that even Macdonald admitted he got a little tense when he realized they were 1 injury away from not having a single true safety left. And he wasn't exaggerating. Losing 1 more would have blown up the entire defensive structure. Meanwhile, the game wasn't slowing down. And it kept getting worse. Chaz Surratt hurt his ankle, George Holani pulled a hamstring, and suddenly the special teams unit was wide open. Guys who weren't supposed to be in those roles had to cover kicks. The direct result, Jameer Dyke's 90-yard return in the fourth quarter, a play that looked isolated but was the product of a group that literally ran out of bodies. Macdonald didn't hide his anger. He flat out said Seattle had no edge on the play and that the gunners and coverage system were completely taped together. It was basically his way of saying, "We survived with what was left." They escaped disaster by inches. The only good news is that Julian Love is very close to returning after spending time on IR to get fully healthy. Seattle needs him back immediately. That group has zero margin left. But just when the game was getting suffocating, the spark nobody expected at that level took over, a historic show from Jackson Smith-Njigba. It was like the whole game's energy shifted. On the second drive, Seattle dialed up a counter sweep just to get the ball in his hands and set the tone. It wasn't just a run play, it was a statement. A way to say, the ball goes through him now. Then came the bomb, a perfect throw from Darnold down the left sideline, JSN tracking it like he had a built-in radar, and a touchdown that flipped the atmosphere completely. A play that changes confidence, changes posture, changes belief. And that was only the beginning. In the third quarter, on a simple 8-yard catch, JSN passed DK Metcalf's franchise single-season yardage record set in 2020. Metcalf needed 16 games. JSN broke it in 11. The sideline reaction said everything, even in the middle of a tense game. Later he beat Kevin Winston deep from the outside, proving a lot of doubters wrong about whether he could dominate out there. It was a direct response. The final exclamation point was his 7th touchdown of the year, a route run like it came out of a teaching clinic. It showed that it's not just raw ability. It's film work, IQ, precision, total mastery. He leads the NFL in total yards, leads in big plays, sits top 5 in yards per catch, and is already among the top 10 in catch percentage among receivers with at least 500 yards. None of this is volume-driven. It's efficiency. This literally doesn't exist in the modern era. He's on pace to clear 2,000 yards and may even threaten Calvin Johnson's record. And we, the 12s, are watching something special, maybe the single greatest wide receiver season in Seahawks history. It's rare to realize greatness while it's happening. Usually you only see it clearly years later. But this is happening right now. And when you add everything together, you get exactly where this team is emotionally. Injuries don't just mess with the depth chart, they shake confidence, communication, defensive rotations, and even Macdonald's game planning. Losing players doesn't just take away talent. It takes away trust. Getting Julian Love back isn't just helpful, it's an emotional reset the defense needs. And on offense, something else is back, collective confidence. Darnold, the receivers, the offensive line, Clint Kubiak. The way Kubiak called this game made it obvious he wanted to fix the vibe after that storm against the Rams. He spread touches around, mixed depth, gave JSN winnable matchups, and opened breathing space for everyone. It was about repairing this unit mentally. Seattle still isn't perfect, but it's resilient. And the NFL tends to reward teams built that way in December and January. The win hurt, every inch of it, but it was promising. The defense did what it could, the offense found rhythm, and the league's hottest wide receiver is making history in real time. Nothing guarantees what's coming, but what Seattle showed in Nashville changes how the rest of the NFL looks at this team. Now I want to hear from you. Is this team finally on the right track, or does it still need urgent fixes? Drop your thoughts below 12s. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. Let's keep showing why Seattle has the loudest fans in the NFL. Go Hawks!